How to write a hook. One of the biggest mistakes I see entrepreneurs make is not having a powerful hook. You don't have to be a professional copywriter to pull this off, but it is essential for you to have success on the internet. So I'm going to show you in this video my exact process and thought process that I go through when I write cool hooks. Let's dive in. I used to ask a lot of internet marketers how to write hooks. It's one of the most challenging pieces. It's where science and art meet. Hook writing is challenging and it is hard to do, especially if you're not a copywriter or have never studied copy before. So I used to ask copywriters, be like, hey, internet marketer, hey, copywriter, hey, big person who's had success, how do you write hooks? In fact, I used to ask Russell Brunson this question. I say, hey, how do you write a hook? And he'd say, well, it's the thing that grabs their attention. I said, I know, but like, what's the formula? So what I'm gonna share with you is my own formula. I have had a hard time finding a formula for non-professional copywriters. I've had a hard time finding a formula for writing one when you haven't spent years and years of your life studying copy or being a professional copywriter. So I'm gonna walk through this. It's 3 steps. This is part of a much larger process, but it should help you get enough of a sense to go pull this off on your own. Let's dive in. All right, now the first step in writing a sweet hook is to understand who you're trying to sell. There was a company I was working with once, and I say this a couple times in the past, but it was a water company, and I was like, hey, who are you trying to sell? Water company selling water filters. And they said, Stephen, the thing is that everyone drinks water, which means everyone is our dream customer. And I was like, no, that is the opposite of marketing. If you try to market to everybody, it is literally the opposite of marketing. Marketing cuts, marketing simplifies, and marketing targets, right? It is not this big, broad stroke thing. That's not what marketing is at all. And so some of you guys watching this might think, Stephen, though, I'm in a similar situation where my thing could be had, could be sold, could be purchased and consumed by a lot of different types of people. How many are that way? I get it. That's challenging. That's hard. So what I want to give you guys is a few things to think about that will really help refine your who, refine your dream customer. Because if you don't have this, it's going to be challenging to write a hook. You definitely can't target anybody. When I'm working with a client, one of the first things I ask to understand the who better, the dream customer better, is what is it that your dream customer already should have purchased? What have they already bought before buying from you? Interesting question. What's cool about that is it lets you start to filter out people who are a good fit for you and people who are not. For example, let's say that I was gonna sell some funnel building services. Who is the easiest person to sell if I'm selling a funnel building service? Someone who's already bought a funnel building service. That's counterintuitive, but it's true, right? If I'm selling a protein supplement, who's the best type of person that I should sell? Someone who's already bought a protein supplement. Why? That sounds counterintuitive. And the reason is because they've already practiced buying that thing. And you don't need to go and teach them about protein supplements. The previous seller already did that. Isn't that interesting? So what I want to do is I want to find people who, number one, I've purchased something similar as to what I want to go sell to them. The second thing that I want to do is, okay, now that I know what they've purchased, I need to know what is it that they resent. Okay, what is it that they're starting to resent? This is a fun one to ask clients whenever I'm doing this with them, and I say, what do they resent? What is the thing that's popping up for them like, you know what, they're starting to resent friends and family because they aren't giving them this, or whatever it is. They're starting to resent their boss. They're starting to resent this product. They're starting to resent that other company. Whatever that is, I list out the thing that they're starting to resent. That's a big key piece. Another thing that helps me clarify who I'm trying to sell to and who I'm not is I need to understand what my dream customer should already know and be educated about before I pitch them. Okay, this is a cool one. Now think about this. I don't like working with anybody who has not gone through Russell Brunson's One Funnel Away Challenge. Okay, that's my actual thing. I say that. If you've not gone through the One Funnel Away Challenge from Russell Brunson, you're probably not a dream customer of mine. Why do I do that? I do that because if they don't go through Russell Brunson's One Funnel Away Challenge, it means I have to go do all of that education that One Funnel Away would have done. Ugh, that's a harder sale. That's a longer road to success post-purchase. That sucks. So funny enough, what's interesting is you can use these different methods to kind of clarify and simplify, okay, you might be trying to sell the same person as somebody else, but you're selling them in a different spot along the journey. Does that make sense? Someone else might be able to serve them earlier in their journey. And then after a while, they're not as good. And you're like, now I'm good for them. These are things that I go through in order to clarify who I'm really trying to sell to and inadvertently who I'm not trying to sell to. All right, the second piece you need to have before we even start writing hooks is you have to understand, now that you know your who, you have to figure out where they are. Let me tell you a quick story with this. My dad and I paid $30,000 to Robert Kiyosaki to learn his stock and options trading courses. We get in there and we're starting to learn them. And what's interesting about that is a number of years go by and I went back to my dad and I said, hey, how's that going? Like, how's the trading going for you? And he goes, good, but I'm no longer trading on the New York Stock Exchange. And I'm like, really? And he goes, yeah, I'm not trading on New York Stock Exchange anymore. I'm trading on Forex. And I was like, you're on the Forex market? Why? We weren't trained on that market. And he said a phrase to me that has changed how I market. Listen to it. He said, Stephen, it's so big that I don't need to be as good to take home more. Whoa. He said, the pie is so big, I don't need to be as good to take home more. He said, the New York Stock Exchange trades billions of dollars every day. The Forex market trades trillions of dollars every day. It's such a larger pie that my skill set doesn't need to be as big, but I'll still take home more money. And I thought, oh my gosh, how interesting is that? That's very similar with marketing. Okay, think about this. Follow me. I know this is thick. You stick with me on this video right now. You understand? Because this is a big trick right here. You know who you sell. You need to find them now. What marketplace are they going to? It needs to be big, which means you don't need to be as good at this to make a lot of money. That's the big secret. That's a huge secret right there, okay? So you need to understand, first of all, who are you trying to sell to? And second of all, where are they? Where are they? And the place that you're gonna go and find them at needs to be massive and rich. It needs to be rich, lots of cash flow inside of it. If there's only 2 companies fighting for customers, that's actually really scary because you gotta outdo the other person. Massive is actually security. All right, guys, before we get into the actual hook writing piece itself, please subscribe. This is awesome stuff, and I want you to know that this is better than most people's paid stuff. That's cocky of me to say, but I also know it's true because I've been in the industry for a long time. Please subscribe, hit the like button, and then let us know down in the comments what your biggest takeaway has been. What's the thing you're like, oh man, that right there, thanks, Stephen, that probably could increase my cash flows. Number 3, guys, this is the key question I ask every client that I'm writing the hook for. I say, and pay attention to this and please write it down. What is the dream scenario that you want to be happening in your customer's life at the time they hear your pitch? Ooh, this is how we write hooks. You know the who that you're trying to sell. You know the market that you're trying to find them in. What should be going on in their life and or business at the time they hear your pitch? Now this is really, really powerful. So then I just start listing it out. They're like, well, let's say it was a real estate company. I'm just making it up. Real estate company, they're like, you know what? They need to have just gone through a foreclosure, right? That really painful experience. They need to have had someone in their family say, is this the one that's gonna work? That's a tough question. We've all experienced that as entrepreneurs. They need to have seen a stock market report that says, hey, there might be a little bit of a crash or a dip coming up, buckle up, right? They need to have, right? And so we just start listing out some of the things that are going on inside their life. Hardships, things that are exciting, things that are making them worried, things that keep them up at night. This is material for good hooks. So think about it like this. If I'm trying to go for a real estate investor who's in the real estate marketplace and I am trying to teach them more about real estate and I was writing a hook, I'm just gonna make it up, but this is what I would do. I'd write it something like this. You are a real estate professional or you're an aspiring real estate professional. You've been going out and trying to buy real estate for the last little bit and you've been successful to a degree. However, you messed up on one of the contracts and your last house actually closed with foreclosure. You just saw what the stock market is happening, that is a little bit of dip coming up and you don't know that you want to participate in that like you normally have been. What would you do in the next 2 weeks to turn around your real estate career, and what things would you learn in order to actually go purchase your next house at a profit? And then I would get purchase your house at nextprofit.com, right? Something like that. You hear what I just did? So I talked to the person in the place and the scenario they're in. That's how I write hooks. That's the whole way I write hooks. That piece right there. Now there's some artistry to what I just said right there, but that's the formula. Who, where, and scenario. And when I combine all those together, that's how I write sweet hooks. Hey, so this is an example of me doing this with a client, and they'll be totally fine with this. There's a little free shout out right here, but you see, first start with the who, then the market, then the scenario. I want to read to you kind of what we wrote here so you can see how to do this. So I'm just going to talk it out. We say, hey, you are a, now just watch this, okay? You're a mom, you've just given birth, and you've bought diets and workouts. You've started to resent different gym memberships and the biggest, hottest, latest fad and diet trick. You're trying to gain your body back. All right, you've gone through all these different dietitians telling you don't, and a huge list of don'ts. You're hating that all of your regaining of your body post-pregnancy is based on willpower. What you didn't realize is that when you gave birth, 2 new bodies were born that day. Not just your little one, but also yours. And you're trying to get your body back to the way it was. You don't feel like yourself. You don't recognize yourself. You feel overwhelmed from all the different Instagram and Facebook courses that are out there. What would you do to make sure you didn't inherit your mom's genes and genes? Okay, and then we called it notyourmamasbody.com. And she has a weight loss program for women trying to maintain and get their body back after pregnancy. Now, how different is that than get your body, like nextweightloss.com? NotYourMamasBody.com? That's sick. You understand how cool that is? That is different. That's a hook. That grabs women or people in that scenario and says, we understand your pain and this is where we want to bring you. And it speaks to them rather than saying, rah, rah, rah. It makes them say, I'm interested in that. That's my hook writing method. Hey, I got a cool gift here for you. I love my different hook writing and copywriting tricks because I'm not a copywriter. So I want you to go to internetlaunchsecrets.com. The link is in the description and in the first comment. And what you're gonna learn there is more about how I actually write hooks and my revenue and cash flow models for the internet. It's free for you to check out. You should be in the program if you're liking this video, and I'll see you there.